Walter Stadnick stands only 5'4", not very big, but always had a kind of fierceness in his eyes. Walter Stadnick from the beginning was the man who had vision.
Walter Stadnick, known as Nerge, is a name that resonates with both fear and respect in Canada's criminal underworld. As the national president of the Hells Angels, Stadnick played a crucial role in transforming the biker gang into a fearsome criminal enterprise across Canada. This video explores his life, rise to power, and the legacy he left behind. Early life. From Hamilton to the outlaw world. Walter Stadnick, born in Hamilton, Ontario in 1952, grew up in a working-class Ukrainian family. His early years were marked by a desire for belonging and recognition, leading him to join a local outlaw motorcycle club called the Cosmics. However, his ambitions quickly outgrew the small club, setting him on a path toward greater notoriety. From a young age, Stadnick was known for being quiet, calculated, and highly observant, traits that would later help him rise through criminal ranks. He stood out in school not because of academic success, but due to his strong will and a rebellious streak that hinted at his future. Despite the tough neighborhood he grew up in, he kept a clean-cut appearance, which made it easier for him to move undetected in both criminal and civilian circles. Friends from his teenage years later recalled that Walter never looked like a biker stereotype, no wild tattoos or flashy leather. But his mind was sharp, and he understood early on that power wasn't just about fists, but strategy. After leaving the Cosmics, he spent time networking with other outlaw groups across Ontario and Quebec, learning the business behind the biker culture, drugs, weapons, and influence. By his mid-20s, he was already building connections with figures tied to more powerful clubs, setting the stage for what would soon become a national legacy of crime and fear. The Wild Ones and a taste of violence. In 1977, Stadnick joined the Wild Ones, a more prominent outlaw motorcycle club. His leadership qualities and disciplined lifestyle, avoiding drugs and excessive drinking, set him apart. However, his decision to seek membership with the Hells Angels without proper protocol led to a violent ambush in Montreal in 1978, resulting in the deaths of two of his associates. Stadnick survived, marking the beginning of his chaotic journey with the Hells Angels. That attack changed everything for him. It was a warning. Getting close to the Hells Angels wasn't going to be easy or safe. Many people would have walked away after something like that, but not Stadnick. He kept pushing forward, becoming even more determined to earn his place. The experience hardened him and gave him a deeper understanding of how dangerous the outlaw world really was. It also taught him a lesson he would never forget. Power came with risk, and survival meant staying one step ahead. From that point on, he knew that fear and respect were tools he had to master. The architect of expansion, Stadnick's vision was clear. Unify the broken biker gangs under the Hells Angels banner. In a move nostalgic of corporate franchising, he arranged a mass patchover in 2000, where multiple Ontario biker gangs, including Satan's Choice and the Paradise Riders, joined the Hells Angels. This strategic unification made the Hells Angels the dominant outlaw motorcycle club in Ontario overnight. But this wasn't just about numbers, it was about control. Stadnick worked quietly in the background, meeting with gang leaders, offering protection, money, and the powerful Hells Angels name. He made it hard for smaller clubs to say no. Either they joined him or they risked being pushed out, or worse. His approach was smart: expand without starting unnecessary wars. By the time police realized what was happening, the Hells Angels were already deeply rooted in several provinces. Stadnick had built an empire, one deal at a time.
This was Maurice "Mum" Boucher at a court appearance for his son. Boucher was the head of an elite chapter of the Hells Angels. Everyone knew Mum Boucher was a killer, and he knew everyone knew.
The Quebec Biker War. The 1990s saw a brutal territorial dispute between the Hells Angels and the rival Rock Machine Gang in Quebec. While Maurice "Mom" Boucher became the public face of the conflict, Stadnick operated behind the scenes, focusing on expanding the Hells Angels' reach into Ontario and the prairies. The war resulted in over 150 deaths, including innocent bystanders, highlighting the violent lengths the gangs would go to declare dominance. This wasn't just a battle between bikers, it was a full-blown criminal war in the streets. Bombings, shootings, and firebomb attacks became almost daily news in Quebec. People were afraid to go out at night, and even police officers were on edge. Stadnick, though not always visible, was constantly watching and planning. He believed that while Boucher fought the war in Quebec, he could quietly take over the rest of Canada. This smart division of roles made the Hells Angels stronger. Instead of being weakened by the war, they used it as a distraction to grow their empire in other provinces. Stadnick's calm, patient strategy paid off in a way that few could have predicted. Operation Springtime and legal battles. In 2001, law enforcement launched Operation Springtime, a massive crackdown on the Hells Angels. Stadnick was arrested and in 2004 sentenced to 20 years in prison for conspiracy to commit murder, drug trafficking, and gangsterism. Despite his jail time, he remained unapologetic, showing no guilt for his actions. Operation Springtime was one of the largest police operations in Canadian history. It involved over 120 arrests, dozens of raids, and years of investigation. The police had wiretaps, informants, and piles of evidence showing how the Hells Angels operated like a business, selling drugs, collecting debts, and controlling territory. Stadnick was a big target because he was seen as the brain behind it all. Even though he kept a low profile, investigators knew he was pulling strings from the shadows. His arrest sent shockwaves through the biker world, but many believed the Hells Angels were too big to fall, even without their top man.
Standing at 5 feet 4 inches, Walter Stadnick went from an indifferent and unmotivated kid to becoming a Hells Angels national president. He is a Hall of Famer that not only led the Hells Angels to the biker wars, but also established it in Canada as the legendary organization we know today.
Life after prison. Released in 2014, Stadnick attempted to reintegrate into society, taking up work as a construction laborer. However, his strict release conditions, including restrictions on associations and movements, reflected the authorities' continued distrust of his influence. By 2019, these conditions were lifted, and Stadnick reconnected with the Hells Angels, attending the funeral of a fellow member. At first, he kept a low profile, trying not to draw attention. He lived in a modest apartment and kept his distance from known clubhouses. But people who knew him said he never really left the biker life behind. He just learned how to blend in better. The police kept watching him quietly, unsure if he was truly done or just waiting. His appearance at the funeral in full Hells Angels gear sent a clear message. Stadnick was still loyal. Even after years behind bars, his name still carried weight in the outlaw world. Financial examination and bankruptcy. Despite declaring modest annual incomes, Stadnick's lavish lifestyle caught the attention of the Canada Revenue Agency. In 2006, he was ordered to pay $1.2 million in back taxes, leading him to file for bankruptcy in 2008. This financial downfall highlighted the illegal gains collected during his tenure with the Hells Angels. Authorities were suspicious because someone claiming to make less than $30,000 a year was seen driving expensive cars and wearing designer clothes. It didn't add up. Investigators believed he had hidden money, possibly stored away from his drug trafficking days. The tax agency went after him just like they would any criminal boss by following the money. Even in bankruptcy, Stadnick refused to admit guilt or explain where the money came from. The case showed that even without a gun or drugs, the government had ways to hit criminals where it hurts most: their wallets. The Hells Angels remain a powerful force in the underworld, and the criminal networks Stadnick helped establish still operate in multiple forms. Legacy, a complex figure. Walter Stadnick's legacy is complex. To law enforcement, he remains a symbol of organized crime's widespread reach in Canada. To the Hells Angels, he's a strategic mastermind who unified disparate gangs into a cohesive force. His life story serves as a cautionary tale of ambition, power, and the consequences that follow. Some see him as a criminal genius who stayed out of the spotlight while building an empire. Others view him as a dangerous figure who brought violence and fear wherever he went. Even people who study crime admit that Stadnick changed how biker gangs operate in Canada. He made them more organized, more secretive, and harder to stop. While he never craved fame, his actions made him a legend in the outlaw world. Whether seen as a villain or a mastermind, Walter Stadnick left behind a legacy that still shapes Canadian gang culture today. Walter Stadnick's journey from a small-town biker to the feared national president of the Hells Angels summarizes the charm and danger of the outlaw lifestyle. His strategic judgment and stubborn ambition reshaped Canada's criminal landscape, leaving a permanent mark that continues to influence the country's underworld dynamics. If you found this deep dive eye-opening, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button to show your support. Drop a comment below. Share this with a friend who's into biker culture or loves learning about underground brotherhoods. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story from the edge of society's hidden worlds. This is just the beginning. More real stories are coming your way. Stay tuned.